My name is Mike Bonanno. I'm Director of Operations for BioHitech America. We're the company that manufactures and distributes this piece of equipment you're looking at here. This is our EcoSafe digester. This is our solution for one of the biggest and fastest growing problems we're facing here in the United States and typically across the world. As we all know, landfill space is at a premium. So as more and more food waste is generated, our landfill space is becoming more and more valuable. And what that does for the end user, the consumer, is inflates garbage prices, typically waste hauling expenses. As those prices go up, ultimately trickles down to you guys and your waste bills continue to go higher and higher. This is our solution to that problem. Essentially what this is going to do for you is take all the food waste that was going into your compactor, now it's going to go into our mechanical stomach. Okay? To put simply, anything you guys can eat and digest, so could this machine, with a few exceptions, which I'll get into in a little while. Essentially here you have a mechanical stomach. Our solution here deals with food waste at the point of generation. That's one of the most attractive aspects of our technology. There is no byproduct, there is no compost that you guys will ever have to touch again. Your sole responsibility is to come over to this machine, open this food hatch door, wait approximately 5 seconds for a tabulation to take place, which I'll get into in a little while, and shut this door. That is it. There's no garbage bags to haul away, for someone, one of you guys, one of your coworkers to trek across the complex. No more heavy garbage bags to lift. Peripherally, there's a lot of peripheral expenditures you guys should save on as well. Garbage bag usage. I'm sure if you guys, it would probably take a handful of you guys at best to carry away a full garbage can of waste. It's a couple of 100 pounds easy. So instead of now the individual that was burdened with that responsibility, you'll be now toting over 20 to, let's say, 40-pound offerings directly over to the machine, typically right where the food waste is generated, minimizing and, or I'd say maximizing your workflow processes so you don't get, again, involved with transporting waste back and forth the facility. And once that food offering was introduced in there, you'd simply shut the door and the machine does everything else. It's fully automated, fully self-sustaining. There's a computer system built into the machine that monitors all the different environmental parameters, how much water goes in, how much aeration takes place, how much heat, etc. Once that door shuts, the process is instantaneous. Okay, now a common question we get is, well, how long is it going to take to break down the food? And there is no black or white answer. Okay, every food item breaks down at a different time interval. If you threw 100 pounds of lettuce in here, well, lettuce by composition is 90% water. It's going to break down and get processed very quickly. Now you threw down 100 pounds of meat in there. It's much more fibrous by nature. It's going to take a little longer. So you could expect, depending on the other hospitals that we're in quite a few now, anywhere, depending on the profile of the food waste, between 30 and 150 pounds an hour will get digested by the machine. Now, to piggyback on your question, we realize in a lot of our back rooms, in many of our customers, not everyone speaks English. Sometimes language could be a barrier. So we've always been big believers in the KISS principle, basically keep it simple. Even on the design of this machine from a maintenance standpoint, very user-friendly, very few moving parts to really service moving forward. But what really we've tried to do is come up with a universal language so when our staff, our end user will know when and when not to feed, and that's our traffic light system. Figure this is our universal language. Everyone knows the traffic light. Green means go, yellow means proceed with caution, red means stop. So there is a scale built into this machine. You guys, one at a time, you can peer over here. You'll see there's a numeric readout over here in the top corner. Okay? Now if I lean on this machine, you'll see that number start to rise. Okay, that number is in real time. So I'm right now simulating additional food waste being pushed into the machine. And then as it's digested, the number will go back down. So now this machine is set up to hold 400 pounds of food waste at any one time. Okay? Now from 0 pounds to 350 pounds, you're going to be in the green phase. When you guys see green, that means there's plenty of room in my stomach. Keep the food waste coming, I'm hungry all day long. Now when you breach that 350 and you go to 351 and above, you're going to move into the yellow. Essentially for you guys, when you see yellow, that means no more food. I'm full, I need time to digest, and then once the machine processes that food waste, The scale will come back down and it'll move back into the green phase, again, alerting you that feeding could resume. Simple rule of thumb, if you could eat it, the machine could eat it with a few exceptions. You guys will eat the steak and not the steak bone. You could eat the clam but not the clam shell. So there's a handful of items that if you can't put it in your mouth, it shouldn't be going in this machine's mouth. And again, I can't stress enough, this is for a food waste solution only. Any inorganic material that goes in here is really something we frown upon. Dish towels, rubber gloves, plates, bowls, things of that nature, silverware, could only inhibit and cause damage to the machine. So you really want to try and keep that inorganic material out of the drum. Ideally, what you're looking at here, and I'll break it up for you in two processes. There's a mechanical process, what you see here. Okay, this machine creates the perfect environment for our microorganisms, which are in this pouch up here. What this machine is doing is providing heat, plenty of oxygen, and plenty of constant aeration and warmth. When you combine that with our 4 strands of microorganisms, it creates the ideal environment for the microorganisms to consume a wide spectrum of food items in here at a very high volume of rate. We have a machine of this size in one of our prison customers processing over 4,000 pounds of food waste a day. Now hopefully you guys aren't generating that much food waste, but sky's the limit when it comes to the efficiency and effectiveness of this tool. Here inside the drum is a medium of kiln-dried cedar wood chips. Okay, that acts as the habitat for our microbiology. They'll kind of nestle into those wood chips, kind of like barnacles on a ship. Okay, that's their home. In addition to that, the wood chips kind of act as like a mincing agent for the food waste, kind of like simulate our chewing. It breaks it down into smaller pieces. The smaller the piece, the quicker they're consumed and the quicker they go down the drain. Okay? You have a series of paddle arms here that periodically just turn over and agitate, aerate the food mixture. Okay? They spin at a very slow rate of speed, only 6 RPMs per minute, revolutions per minute. Again, it's not for any chopping or mincing. This is strictly for aeration. This is an aerobic digestion process. Unlike some of the other composting technologies out there, we're big believers in utilizing aerobic digestion. We don't believe in choppers and grinders. Our sole intent, or our main focus at BioHitech is really doing things not only right by the customer, but right by the environment. Typically the machine is powered up 24/7, okay? There's always power going to it. Now that being said, I referenced our computer system earlier. There is a computer that takes care of all the different facets of the machine, okay, and manages how long they're on and the duration they're on as well. So although it's receiving power 24/7, throughout different parts of the day, the machine is in sleep mode. There's times where you'll hear the agitator stop spinning, the showering process will stop, and so on and so forth. So it's a constant on and off process throughout the day that you guys truly would probably not even know. I mean, what you're hearing right now, this is maximum noise that comes out of this machine. So if you heard a sound other than this, probably an indicator that there's something in there that doesn't belong. This is usually the most quiet piece of equipment inside the kitchens. And like I said, typically, fastly becomes one of the employees' best friends. And we realized odor to some people is a very sensitive subject. So we kind of, again, took another precautionary step to combat any odor, if at all, okay, generated. So underneath this little trap door, you'll see is our entry point for our deodorizing reservoir, okay? This sight glass pertains to this tank, as well as these 2 lights here. Now, as the water level in here starts to go down, systematically these lights will go off. So when you see both red and green on, that means your tank is full. As the water level starts to go, there's 2 sensors on this tank, a high level and a low level. So as the level goes down and breaches that point, the green light goes off. Basically just giving you a visual indicator. Be conscious of it, the deodorizer is on the way down. Then you'll have all this room here. Okay, then not until this sight glass was totally empty would your red light go out. That means the tank is virtually, essentially, totally void of any deodorizer. Ideally, you never want this light to go out. And once this water level gets to this bottom bar here, that's typically when you would refill the reservoir. So a common question we get is, well, what happens if a fork or a spoon or a plate, a dish rag gets in there? The bottom of this is finely perforated like a spaghetti colander, okay? So as the food waste is eaten, what typically is left over, the solid aspects are gone, the water from the food waste is what's left over, and that's what's excreted, comes out this pipe, goes right down into the sanitary sewer system, You guys never see it or touch it again. Now, if something inorganic does get in there, again, our design is made to keep and contain those items in here so they don't pass through into the environment. So they'll kind of just flip around in there. The next time a food offering was going to happen, you'd open this door. Again, a safety feature is built into this. Once this door opens, there's no fear or harm of you guys getting mangled up or getting injured. The machine shuts down. What we recommend is you do a brief visual inspection upon every feeding. You'd simply take a quick peer inside. Hey, there's a dish towel, there's a rubber glove. Those things don't belong in here. Let me just go retrieve them, pull them out, discard them properly. Once again, the environment, including the microorganisms, totally innocuous to human beings. You're not gonna, it's not gonna eat your flesh. You're not gonna lose your fingers. It's a common question we get. No fear of all going in here. I've worked with these machines now for 5 years. I got all my fingers. Totally safe for the end user. Again, once that food offering was introduced in there, you'd simply shut the door and the machine does everything else. It's fully automated, fully self-sustaining. There's a computer system built into the machine that monitors all the different environmental parameters, how much water goes in, how much aeration takes place, how much heat, etc. Some other common questions we get, well, how could we kill the microorganisms? What things shouldn't go in there? Again, chemicals of any nature, soaps, bleach, things of that nature you want to keep out of the drum. Extremes, boiling temperatures, very hot soups, and on the opposite side, extremely cold. Again, the environment of this drum stays between about 110 and 120 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, the microorganisms are most active. So if you introduce a large quantity of frozen foods at one time, it's going to bring down that core temperature and kind of make them work a little slower. Not unlike humans if you're out in the cold too long. So, at best, if you have a lot of cold material going in, you want to ration it in or allow it to stage it near the machine and let it warm up a little bit before going into the machine. Most composting systems, there is something left over at the end of the process. Not with our technology. There is no byproduct left over. After you put it in this machine and shut the door, you'll never touch that waste again. Your job is done. Essentially what would happen if you would just introduce food waste in here, our little microscopic friends are going to eat that food waste. What's left over from the solid aspects is the water, which is just gravity. This is a gravity-fed drain system, no propulsion necessary, trickles out, goes down the drain as if you were flushing the toilet. And then what we like to believe at BioHitech is, a lot of these other competitors where there is a compost, when is the last time you guys heard of a compost shortage? We don't recall, certainly not in my lifetime. But how many times, I bet, in your lives has there been a water shortage or restrictions on water usage? Well, what we like at BioHitech to think is we're not only preserving our landfills, but we're making water. We're introducing water, found water from the food waste that you typically would have been throwing out is going back into the environment and ultimately farther down the line, back out of our sinks and our showers that we're going to reuse once the wastewater treatment plants have treated it.
And how long does it take?
Great question. As you know, your garbage cans at home or maybe in other areas of this facility that sits around, doesn't get dealt with, starts to stink, starts to fester over time. Well, the other beautiful thing about this technology is once that door shuts, the process is almost instantaneous. Food waste is not sitting around long enough for bad smells to be created. So almost as quickly as you put it in, it's as quickly being dealt with, processed, and excreted down the drain. So unless the machine is broken, typically due to operator error, they'll throw in the silverware, they'll throw in the bowls and cups, where they'll damage a pad alarm, or the introduction of a lot of towels and plastic. Outside of those two scenarios, bad smells typically are not an issue we deal with on a daily basis. Now, one thing very important to remember, there are no chemicals used during this process. Again, this is all about environmentally friendly products, okay? Typically what will happen is once the machine is acquired, the customer will acquire our annual maintenance contract. And I'll break maintenance down for you from the consumer point and our perspective. So typically with that annual contract, you'll get 4 visits per year, 4 quarterly visits where a technician will come out, maintain the machine, recharge the microorganisms. That takes place 6 times a year in 2-month intervals, okay? Because the microorganisms are a living entity. Some die off during the process. Obviously some are flushed out during the process as well. So to keep that seed count high and strong and digestion rates high, we reintroduce that in 2-month intervals. So we'll do that as well as mechanically go over the machine, make sure it's working properly. That's our responsibility.
So we don't have to do anything to keep this month.
Well, now your side of the coin, and which is typically always the best partnership. If we find that our most successful applications are the ones where the customer really becomes proactive, because you will see this will become one of your best friends, one of your employees, one of your coworkers. So outside of external maintenance, just a damp cloth, this touchscreen interface is quite costly. You never want a direct hose on there. And then, like I said before, the best thing you could do to help our job is that brief visual inspection when this door opens. You peer inside, there's a fork, there's a knife, there's a bowl that shouldn't be in there. If you could just minimize the amount of inorganic material in there, it really helps us keep your machine like new. So 4 times a year, you'll get an in-house visit by a technician. The other 2 recharges are actually, we drop ship the bag to typically someone, on-site personnel that we'll befriend and partner up with. It's a real simple process. That oversized Ziploc bag contains 2 water-soluble pouches, okay? Simply, you would approach this just like you were feeding the machine. You'd open this door, open that Ziploc bag, throw 1 pouch to the left, 1 pouch to the right, shut the door, it's done. Upon getting wet, those bags break down, disintegrate, and the microorganisms get dispersed throughout the wood chip medium inside. It's about a 5-second process.